I know you've got an ear out for the start of the podcast, but before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to remind you to keep an eye out for Darryl Lee's limited edition Christmas treats, because they're in stores now. Like the iconic Christmas nougat pudding, so yummy and a gorgeous little gift. And some delicious Chrissy-themed twists on your favourite treats, like the Darryl Lee Rockley Road with chewy red and green jelly pieces, green and red crunchy milk chocolate balls, my favourites, and green apple and strawberry flavoured licorice. Watch them disappear. Your Christmas treats table will pop with colour and scrumptiousness. Spread some joy, bring the fun, and enjoy the Christmas tradition that is Darryl Lee. Hurry before they sell out. Darryl Lee makes Christmas better.
You're listening to a DM podcast.
Welcome to The Five of My Life with me, Nigel Marsh. As an author, ad man and theologian, I've always been interested in people's stories. Not just those with a high profile, but people from all walks of life, regardless of fame. Which is why I created this show. Each guest who takes the Five of My Life challenge chooses a favourite film, book, song, place and possession. They tell me their choices in advance so I can research them, but they don't tell me why they've chosen them. That's the subject of our conversation. It's amazing what you can learn when discussing someone's 5 choices. I hope you enjoy listening to the show as much as I enjoy making it. Alison Mirams is an inspirational trailblazer at the very top of corporate Australia. CEO of Tier 1 construction company Roberts Co., Alison's courageous leadership took on the norms of an entire industry, provoking headlines such as the AFR's "This woman is ready to blow up the building industry." Her policies and stewardship have transformed the lives of thousands of families. So, Alison, welcome to Five of My Life.
Thank you so much. It's very kind of you to have me.
Now, you are one of the elite group who is a sixer, which is what we call people who have been nominated by other guests on Five of My Life.
Oh, wow.
So a gentleman called Stuart,
Yes.
The referee,
Yes.
recommended that I have you on Five of My Life. How do you know Stuart?
I met Stuart when I was at Lendlease, and he was working for a plant and equipment supplier, and we really clicked. And Stuart's had a really interesting career. Obviously, he was an ARU referee, but then he did a lot of work in the safety space. And so talking to him about safety on construction sites, we found a really good place to be, to talk. It was a safe place, and he had really good insights into how to make construction sites safer from the hearts and minds perspective, not from a process perspective.
Yeah, he's a lovely fella, and I like him all the more because he recommended you.
Oh,
so
bless.
Now, we're going to start with the film, which we always do on Five of My Life. And you have chosen a film that one of my other guests, Emil Sherman, the Oscar-winning film producer, said was the best version of itself, which I think is a lovely expression. It's Top Gun Maverick.
Yes.
Explain yourself.
So when I was in Year 7 at school, I was tasked to write my 25 ambitions in life. And I kept it, and I'm very grateful that I kept it. And every now and then I go back and look at it, and one of my dreams was to fly in an FA-18. And then Top Gun Maverick came out, Top Gun came out, and I watched that one. And then we watched Top Gun Maverick with the whole family, with my 9-year-old son, who thought it was amazing. So first of all, it was on the top 25 of my life. And then I've also been very fortunate in my construction career to work on aircraft bases. So we worked on Williamtown years ago. And the noise of an FA-18 is incredible. And when they get their wings, the pilots get their wings, they do a low flyover over the site, over the base. And the noise going through the construction site, the shed rattles and it goes through your whole body. It's such a powerful sound, and it's almost an addictive sound. So I just loved it.
And have you fulfilled that ambition? Have you?
No.
My wife's dad was a low-level reconnaissance fighter pilot, basically.
Yeah,
so that's what it is. But it makes me want to ask, what were you like as a child? So you're writing down your your ambitions. It seemed pretty organised. Were you precocious or disorganised? What type of little girl were you?
I'm very organised, but I was a procrastinator. I procrastinated doing things. If it was schoolwork, I procrastinated. If I loved it, I did it. I did a lot of sewing when I was younger. I loved sewing. And when I look back on my list, I've achieved about 10 of the 25 things. I'm not sure why I wrote I wanted to fly to the moon. I don't think I'll ever achieve that one. But things like having a really happy marriage, being successful in my career, being an engineer like my dad, ticked all those off, being a mum. I'm not sure. I wrote I wanted to go to Scandinavia. I'm not sure why. It's not ever been something that I've wanted to go to, but clearly in Year 7 I did. So it's a good list. And
wow, and you haven't changed it. It's sort of still fit for purpose.
Yep.
Yeah.
And every few years I do go back and read it, and I tick things off. So I've still got to go hot air ballooning and parachuting. I haven't done that yet.
Do you want to do a tandem one or a solo one?
Yeah, I don't think I want to do either right now.
Right. So I did a solo one.
Oh wow!
Which and you know drunk mates on a stag weekend. Half an hour training.
Yeah.
Jumping off an orange crate and then you go up in a plane. And it's a laugh, right? I mean, it's a solo one with a fixed line. It's a laugh until you get the ground rush. Oh. So with a hangover, you're whistling, looking at I did it in Wales. You're looking at the Welsh countryside, whistling away, going, "Isn't this fun? I can see my house."
Yeah.
And then suddenly the ground rushes up and smacks you in the face.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I've done bungee jumping, but I've got a much higher appreciation of risk these days, being a mum. So.
Where did you bungee?
New Zealand, AJ Hackett.
Okay, right. I did the gator jump in Florida, where you jump off a crane.
Oh wow!
And there's it's like a kid's paddling pool full of alligators.
Oh no!
And you almost get to their snapping mouths, and then you bounce back up into the sky.
Oh no, I couldn't do that.
I needed a better list when I was young. Who inspires you?
Look, I think in my career, in my life, my dad was a massive influence in my life, and certainly set my sister and I off on a very good path. Taught us that girls could do anything, didn't put any barriers in the way for us. And Dad had a really great phrase. He said, "If you don't know what to do, try something. Try anything. If it doesn't work, try something else. Just never stop trying." And that's been very good for me in my life. So I'd have to say Dad's been a really big influence.
And what was his profession? Or
Dad was a fitter and turner by trade, and then he became a marine engineer. So Dad was always in ships. He was always tinkering. Everything was a come in handy. When he died, we had 1.5 tons of steel under the house, and the guys who removed it said to me, "Why have you got so much steel?" I said, "Well, they might come in handy." We had lathes, and he was always working with metal. Very, very practical person, but very, very interested in life. Always asked a question, always reading, researching. I think he studied about 16 TAFE courses.
Wow.
Growing up, I thought that's what Dads did. Every Tuesday and Thursday he went to TAFE, and he just kept learning his whole life.
Just naturally curious.
Very curious person.
And it was just you and Jennifer growing up? Yeah,
that's correct, yeah. With so there was Mum and Dad, and then Jennifer and I.
And how do you get on with your sister? Is that sibling bliss, or are you at each other's throats?
No, we're very similar. My sister is a civil engineer.
Oh, okay.
So when Dad died, Mum said in many respects, John got 2 sons and she got 2 daughters.
Oh.
So we're very practical people.
Right. Moving 1 year earlier than Top Gun Maverick, we're coming to your book on 5 of My Life. Gosh, I'm quite conflicted because I found it a little bit triggering. You've chosen Yamiko Kadotta, I hope I've not mangled her names, book Emotional Female. And I spent the last 15 years travelling around the world giving speeches about the themes within this book, but I had not come across this book. So could you describe it briefly and tell us why you've chosen it?
Yeah, this is a story about a young Japanese doctor who trained in the Australian medical system, and it's really it's a biography, it's her story about the toxic culture that existed in the medical system and how all doctors are overworked, but also how she had to fit in as a female operating in a largely man's world. and eventually her complete and utter breakdown. So it was a book that was lent to me by a friend. One of the girls in our office, Serica, reads books and we swap. And she gave it to me, and I normally read murder mysteries. And when I picked this one up, I couldn't put it down. Every time I turned the page, I was like, yep. So many similarities to what I experienced.
My dear friend Fleur Thomas sent me a video of you talking at a master builders occasion, a luncheon or a conference, because her daughter holds you as her, inspiration.
Oh, wow.
And the work that you do and have done in the construction industry, in breaking down a toxic, glorifying, overworked, male-dominated industry, should be shouted from the rooftops. And you are too modest. I cannot believe I asked you to talk about your book and you didn't mention that. So I'm going to make you. So tell us about, because I hadn't heard, if it wasn't for Stu, I hadn't heard of you. And then when I'm researching, I go, why haven't I heard of you? We're brothers from another mother. You're fantastic. So Project 5 and Flee by 3, you need to put your natural humility aside for a second and tell us about your work in changing an entire industry.
Oh, thank you. So I grew up in construction, been in construction my whole career, and when I started in the industry, I started working for a contractor when I was 21. I knew no different, and my husband used to say to me, why do you work so hard? And I used to say to him, why don't you work hard? And I honestly believed I had it right, because I went into this culture at such a young age, and it was work hard, play harder was the culture. And a couple of things happened. Obviously I was a female in a very male-dominated industry. The female participation rate of the construction industry is 12.5%. It is the same number it was 35 years ago. It has not changed. It's gone up and down minor, but it's still 12.5%, which is appalling. So I have really had in some respects a hard time, but once you crack them and you get accepted, then you're very accepted, and they treat you like a sister, and they're very caring of you. So growing up in construction was hard. In 2008, I almost got to the point where Yumiko did in the book. My best friend went to Dubai for a job interview, and he looked the wrong way crossing the road to run across the road to pay his son's school fees. He was moving there for work, and he was hit by a car, and he was hurt, but not tragically, but the fracture in his neck swelled and he became brain dead, and ultimately he died on life support. And it was 2008, and at that point in time I said to Paul, I can never get those years back with Ian. He was my best friend. Why have I worked so hard for my life? He was in the industry. I could say to him, I can't see you, I've got a deal, I'm doing this tender, and he'd say to me, yep, go and win it, get it. And he allowed my work culture to take over our private time, our personal time. And suddenly I had that realisation of, what have I done? And I can never get it back. If I could cut my right arm off to have him, I would, but I can't. And so I said to my husband, I'm done, I'm out, I'm going to leave. And I only didn't leave because I didn't know where to go. I'd been a builder my whole life. And so 5 years ago, I was given a blank sheet of paper from Andrew Roberts, whose father founded Multiplex, one of the largest contractors in Australia. And he said to me, create a new construction company, but create the best one you can. Now, if you look at the industry, we have very high suicide rate, we have very high divorce rate, and we suffer from presenteeism. If you ask a builder how you are, 99 times out of 100, they'll say, I'm busy. I say to them, I'm great, family's well, my son's well, life's good, can't complain. And they really don't know what to say to you, because presenteeism and busy is worn as a badge of honour. So we said, let's do it properly, let's increase the diversity. To increase diversity, you've got to change culture. And to increase diversity, I've got to take Saturdays away, because we're a 6-day-a-week industry for no good reason. So we said, when we were tendering Concord Hospital for health infrastructure, we said to them, you of all clients can't allow someone to die from suicide when we are building a hospital to make people better. And to their absolute credit, they said yes. So we built it 5 days a week. We engaged Dr. Natalie Galea from the University of New South Wales to study it. It was very, very successful. And after 2.5 years, we studied 345 workers. We studied 16 next of kin. It's the only survey to study next of kin. And the feedback was 75.4% of the workers said, I'd prefer to work 5 days a week. They had better health and wellbeing, they saw their kids, they played sport themselves, all things they couldn't do normally. But what was the real kicker for me was the feedback from the next of kin was that the 6-day working week perpetuates a gender stereotype that dad is the breadwinner and mum is the carer, because all the caring falls to the partners, and they are largely all women. And so we are stopping women from working in society, any industry. We're the 3rd largest industry in the country. That's not okay. So we said we've got to change. We now only put a 5-day program into our clients. It is no extra time and it is no extra cost because we got increased productivity. We got happier workers. They loved coming to site. There was less aggression on site. We got better quality. We got better safety. And some contractors are really struggling with the concept, and the industry is so stuck in that's the way we've always done it. And they're saying, but I don't want to tell my people they can only work 5 days. They might want to work 6 and have Wednesday off. But my guys and girls work 5 and they have Wednesday afternoon off to take the kids to school because we've got the Flee by 3 program. And that sounds really silly, right? Flee by 3. But what it is 1 day a week saying you have to leave at 3 o'clock. It's on a wall and people call you out. I went to the site one day and my project manager met me and I was reading the schedule while I was waiting for him, and I said, hey, it's your day to leave. Why are you meeting me? And he said, oh, well, you put the meeting in. And I said to the whole team, right, he leaves tomorrow at 3 o'clock. You've heard it. You hold him to account. So it's just trying to make it normal. Don't sneak out the back door. Leave loudly. Be proud of it. And we recognise when you have left, not when you stayed. But it's a whole industry that needs to shift, and the struggle is real to change it.
So the thing that needs to be made really clear is the firm is very, very successful.
Yes.
And so you're far too modest. Here we go. So what you've done is it's heroic. Is you are taking on an industry,
yes,
and you get lots of blowback and criticism. I imagine,
yes,
you know, dollops of it are based in hardwired misogyny. You know, blah blah blah.
Yes.
Is you come into an industry where it's work, glorify overwork, 6 days a week, blah blah blah, and you go, no, we're going to do 5 days. And you go, yeah, well, she's a stupid woman and the firm will fail.
Yes.
The firm is doing fantastically. Concord Hospital, as far as I know, hasn't fallen down.
Right.
And your workforce are very happy. They've got happier marriages and lower suicide rates.
Yeah.
You should be carried shoulder high down the bloody street.
Oh, bless.
I just think it's fantastic. So your competitors still
Yes.
do 6 day weeks.
Some of them do, yes.
Yeah.
Some are starting to change.
In a world where Unilever is moving to 4 day weeks.
Correct.
It's almost face palm. I mean, really?
Yeah.
You know, really?
Yeah.
The fact that it's remarkable that you're getting a 5 day week when that should be totally standard.
Yeah.
Melts my brain. Can I read you a quote
Yes.
from the book that you chose?
Please.
And the lady in it, as you said, was a doctor, was a surgeon, but she says, this is right towards the end, this was part of the problem for women in surgery, the lack of visible role models. We all have different values, priorities and goals in life, so this notion of using someone better and more successful than myself as a cookie cutter was flawed. What does success mean anyway? I realised that we had to become our own role models and lead a life that we find worth living, and that's something only you yourself can do. Would you mind chatting a bit about role models, in particular for women?
Look, I think it's really important that there aren't many role models for women in building in senior roles. And sometimes people have said to me, why do you do it? What made you do it? And I think, if I didn't do it, who was going to do it? Because for 35 years it hasn't changed. And the time for talk is over. We need big, broad, systemic change to really shift the needle. It's not, I employed some cadets and they're females. This is systemic change. And so there are not many women in a senior position for younger people to look up to. So if I get a request on LinkedIn, if I get an email from a young woman saying, can I please meet you? I always say yes. And I say yes to my personal time's detriment. But it's really important because I'm no more important than anyone else. If you put me in Woolies, I'm just Alison, I'm a mum and I'm a wife. And I get a lot of feedback from people that say, I can't believe you replied. I'm like, why would I not reply? I am no more important than anyone else in this world. If you ask my son, he'll definitely say that. So I think it's really important to be a role model for people and to role model the behaviours you want to be and you want people to demonstrate. I was not always that person. You know, I was that ass that said at 5 o'clock, have you put your leave for me? And that was the culture I grew up in. And it was only when I went to the second organisation I worked at where I got a life and I got a career, and I needed to go there to see there was a better way. And then starting again with a blank sheet of paper, it's our ability to do it how we think it needs to be done. We're not perfect. But to your point, the company is very successful. 5 years in, we've got 282 employees. We've got a workbook of $1.5 billion. But what I've also got is the support of our banks, of our bonders and of our underwriters who are saying to me, we really love what you're doing and we are getting financially rewarded for how we're behaving. So not only is it a nice to have, it actually makes really good business sense as well, which is what you read in all the McKinsey surveys and those sort of surveys, that when you've got diversity, when you've got really good risk management procedures, your company makes more money.
It's wonderful listening to you, Alison. So I have a story. I have to be very careful because this is a real life person, but I've got twin daughters. They went to a school and you know, we're all trying the best with what we've got. And I admire your honesty in the fact that you weren't always this enlightened person. The school that I paid a fortune for my girls to go to had temporarily a headmistress who was famous for being in the press on purpose, breastfeeding her second daughter 8 hours after she had given birth to her at her desk back at work.
Oh no.
Oh no. And this wasn't a joke, it wasn't for a bet, it wasn't for a photo op. This was to show the girls that you can have it all. You go, so I am lying in a darkened room, moaning softly, thinking, what on earth? And so obviously a well-intentioned lady trying to bring up girls to be successful in the world, but going about it in an entirely wrong-headed way. What the world needs is people like yourself, I humbly suggest, who are incredibly successful at the very, very top. So it's not like work-life balance is for losers. Ooh, you're on the mummy track. No. She runs a huge firm that's doing incredibly well in a very competitive marketplace, and she's knocking the lights out, kicking goals from halfway, and she's a human being with a life. With a, you know, and I'm not saying that husbands and children are the answer, but she has a life, she has friends, she has family. So I am your biggest fan.
Oh, thank you so
much. Now, we are moving many years back in history to 1978 to a song from Queen's jazz album that has been listened to over 600 million times on Spotify, double the times that any Rolling Stones or U2 song has been listened to. It is an anthem that wasn't actually that successful when it was released, but it's built over time. It's Don't Stop Me Now.
Don't stop me now. I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball. Don't stop me now. If you want to have a good time, just give me a call. Don't stop me now. I'm having a good time. Don't stop me yes, now. I'm having a good time. I don't want to stop at all.
So I think it really leads on from the last conversation when we talk about trying to change an industry and the bullying and sometimes the vitriol I have to listen to. And when Queen's song Don't Stop Me Now comes on, it really gives me the adrenaline that I need to keep going, to keep bashing my head against a brick wall, to think you can't stop me and I will change it and I will keep running until I make it a better industry for everyone.
So about determination. Now this sometimes it's better not to look at a sausage factory because you go, oh my goodness, I like eating the snags, but I don't like what I've just seen. I wish I hadn't researched this song because you know, it's a good foot tapping, sing along in the shower type song, but it's actually about when Freddie Mercury was at the height of his fame, and he was having the best time one could ever have in his life. So he was taking lots and lots and lots of drugs, and he was sleeping with lots and lots and lots of men that he didn't know, and he was having an absolute blast. So if you reread the lyrics, it's like, what does he say? I'm a rocket ship on my way to Mars on a collision course. I'm a satellite. I'm out of control. So it's a hedonistic disaster. He is just out, up his nose in the bathhouse. Off we go. And Brian May, interviewed about that song, it's one of the most successful songs. Absolutely hates it because it's such a pure song in terms of yeehaw, can't wait to finish, because I'm out tonight and off we go. Seeing his friend and bandmate, basically it's a long suicide note. I mean, Freddie doesn't know it because he thinks this is fantastic. So that song, wonderful, but now I know the dark side of it, and it has to make me ask, you are very successful in lots of conventional ways. Did you have lost years, wild youth, when you were a smack addict in Paris for 2 years?
No,
No,
never.
Straighty 180.
Never even tried a drug of any sort. No, and it's really, I actually did Google the song last night in preparation and went, oh, that's not great. But it's really the Don't Stop Me Now.
Yes.
Yeah, I was on a construction site years ago and got into the builder's lift, and when we build the lifts in the building during construction, we line them internally with plywood, and inside it there's always graffiti, and the graffiti is very entertaining, so you always read it as you're travelling. And there was in the graffiti, it said, who's got bigger balls than Alison? And I went home and I told Dad, and I said to him, Dad, I've made it, I've been accepted. And so it's really that Don't Stop Me Now. I'm just getting started. I will change this industry and I will make a difference to people's lives. And
your son is Matthew?
Yes.
And is it the cobbler's son is always ill-shod, or whatever they say? Is he unbelievably lazy and gives up very, very quickly, or has he taken on mum's attributes?
No, he's taken on mum and dad's attributes, and he does actually have his own hard hat. He was given one recently. He cried. He said, "Oh, Mummy, I never thought I'd get a hard hat."
No.
He wants to work at Roberts when he grows up. He says, I want to work with you, Mummy, and I keep thinking, by the time you're working, buddy, I'll be retired. But yeah, no, he's the joy of my life.
Oh, fantastic. So the fourth choice on Find My Life is always the place, and the last guest that we had chose In the Middle of a Sentence. Lane Beachley chose the ocean. So I love the different ways people respond to this. And you have chosen a golf course, not the golf course, but just a golf course, any bloody golf course. So tell us about that. So
I love playing golf. My eye-to-hand coordination, you might say, is lower than my son's, probably lower than my son's when he was 2. So ball sports and me don't go together. And when I met, my grandparents were always golfers. My mum grew up playing golf, but she never taught us. And when I met my husband, he used to go off for 4 or 5 hours playing golf, and I was like, well, why can't I come? And of course, knowing my eye-to-hand coordination, he was a little bit apprehensive about that concept. And eventually he took me to the driving range, and it wasn't too bad, because if you swing back and forward in the same plane, you will hit the ball every single time. You don't actually need any eye-to-hand coordination. And he was working at Lend-Lease at the time, and years ago when the government had the training guarantee scheme in, every employee got $1,500 a year to spend on training that did not relate to work. And so I got golf lessons. It was fantastic.
The government subbed you golf lessons.
Absolutely.
Love it. Love this country.
It was fabulous. And so I was taught right from the start. And when Paul took me out on our first game, we live in Cremorne, and he took me out to Tree Valley, all the way out at Camden. So we were as far away from any of his mates. No one would recognise him. But it turned out I could actually play golf, and I could play golf well. And we had one year, as you do for your New Year's Eve resolution, and this was pre-Matthew, we said, right, we're going to spend a year getting as good as we can. And so we decided we'd practice twice a week, we'd play once a week, and we'd have a lesson every 3 weeks for a year and see what we could do. And my handicap from January to April did nothing, and then from April to December it went from 17 to 8.6.
Wow.
And we're playing on New Year's Day at Camden Lakeside, and a beautiful course, and we were both 3 over the stick standing on the 18th, and Paul always said, the day you beat me off the stick is the day I retire. And I started to actually be able to beat him. He plays off 4, and he said, right, well, I'm going to have to swallow my pride because I can't stop playing golf. And it was 15 years of our life then. The first week of our honeymoon was playing golf. All of his mates are like, my God, where did you find her? You get to play golf on your honeymoon. And every week we played golf. And when you work in an industry that is as hard as construction, to be outside for 5 hours a day on the weekend in the fresh air walking, it's so good for your soul. And I just love it.
So a single figure handicap, that's a good round of golf.
It is, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Actually, a bizarre coincidence, the lady who sent me your video of your
Yes,
speech,
yes.
that's just astonishing speech, her daughter is the 78th best female golfer in the world.
Wow.
But if you are the female 78th best golfer in the world, that means you're not making much money.
No.
You know?
No.
If you're the male 78th, you're a multi-millionaire. So it's you know. I mean, we'll work it out eventually. But the gender disparity, it's everywhere. It's not just construction. It's bloody golf. Okay, we're moving on to my favourite choice on Five My Life.
Yes.
Now, I'm a bit worried about this, okay? So I'm going to put you on the spot because I usually introduce this by saying, and it's fabulous because people don't choose my Ferrari or my Rolex. They choose, a piece of thread from my baby's, blanket or whatever.
Yeah.
But you've chosen something that on the surface could be slightly consumerist, but maybe you're about to surprise me. It's Dad's water ski boat.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So this was the hardest choice for me. This one took me weeks to work out. My sister and I were born in June and July, so that by the time summer came around, we were old enough to be taken up the river and it wouldn't interrupt Dad's skiing season. So Dad was a mad water skier. Mum disliked it immensely. Dad gave her a wetsuit for her wedding present, which I think she has the patience of a saint. So we spent every Saturday water skiing. And even when I was 32, I still spent every Saturday with my dad up the river. We skied at Dargle on the Hawkesbury. We'd leave home at 7:30 in the morning. We'd get home at 10 o'clock at night, totally and utterly exhausted. And it's that fantastic muscle fatigue feeling that you have, and the next day, you couldn't quite straighten your arms because your muscles were so tired. And it was my time with Dad, and there are not many things you can do as a family through your whole life. We snow ski with my son now. My son plays golf with us. So we've got family sports. And Dad still skied until he was 80. My first interview at Multiplex, I said to them, I'll work any hours of the day and night, Monday to Friday. I won't work Saturdays. I water ski with my family. I failed that interview. I went to the next one and I thought, well, I just won't tell them I won't work Saturdays. I'll get the job and I'll deal with that later. And that's what I did, because our life revolved around water skiing. And when Dad died, Matt was 4 months old when Dad died. And for the first few years, the boat was at Mum's. We kept the family home and eventually we sold it. And I couldn't sell the boat when we moved Mum. And I've got it in storage and I pay for it to be in storage. I haven't turned it on for 9 years, but it's Dad. And I'm so attached to it, I can't get rid of it. And it's completely irrational from a very sensible, logical point of view. I don't use it, but it's my dad, and it's my closest connection I have to my dad.
I totally get that. My dear old mum who's left us now, but we had, those Citroen 2CVs?
Yes.
And it was passed down through the family. I mean, so it had an engine that was, underpowered for a lawnmower. I think it was 600cc.
Wow.
Or, nothing. And those ones with the cotton roof that you could take down the lights.
Yep.
So this thing is basically a lawnmower, and the Marsh family have driven it for 20 years. So it's held together by elastic bands, and it gets passed down. So eventually I get, given it, I can now use it.
Yes.
And I have to push it to start and all that. So it's a piece of crap,
Yes.
right? So it finally can't work. And you can't sell it because who would want it? And Mum, because it had all those family memories, on bricks.
Yeah.
You go, can we get rid of the 2CV? No. You go, but why not? It's a hunk of metal. And you go, yeah, but it's got all those memories in it.
Exactly.
I'm so glad that that's the story. I mean, wow, what a outdoorsy family you are.
Yeah, we've had a very good life. Absolutely.
Do you ever get sad?
Sad in terms of losing people, definitely. You know, I lost my childhood best friend in a car accident when I was 21. I then lost Ian when I was in my early 30s. I lost Dad, lost a great mate at work, lost a great crane driver in an accident when he was working for another company. I do have hard days at work, definitely. I have very good support network around me. I have an incredible husband who is amazing support to me, to my career, and he's incredible at home. I can only do what I do because he does absolutely 50-50 of everything, and he's a brilliant dad. There's no doubt that when you're trying to change an industry, it's hard work. But when I see the joy on people's faces and I see how happy they are, it's the adrenaline injection I need to keep going. And so I just make sure I've got really good people around me who are happy people who can set me on the path if I'm thinking, gosh, is that an issue? They set me straight and you know, give me a tummy rub and keep me going. So yes, I am a human being. I do have feelings, and there are hard days and there are amazing days. But when I see the difference we're making, it's all worth it.
3 more questions for you. 1, are you an optimist?
Yeah, I think I am. Yeah, and I like to live in a state of change. Change doesn't scare me.
I sort of think if you have a long enough perspective, I mean, I know everyone wants it done, you know, today, which I agree with, but it won't be today. I sort of think we are going to sort it out. I think if you come back in 100 years' time and look at the construction industry, because in part of you, it will be very, very, very different to the construction industry 30 years ago.
No, absolutely, I agree with that. And what's the latest generation? Are they Gen Zs or something? They don't want to work as hard as we did when we were cadets. They will change it. So you can either wait 15 years for them to be in my chair, or you can change it now and we can enjoy it. And that's where I've gone. Let's do it now so we can all enjoy it. The other thing is COVID was horrific in so many ways, but it was so good for the construction industry because it put us into the fastest and largest experiment on flexible working, and it worked.
Yeah.
It was a resounding success. And you can't say to me anymore, you can't be part-time, you can't work remotely, because we did when we had to. Yeah. So it's actually pushed us forward probably 10 or 15 years.
Okay, I've got a choice of questions for my second question. So 1, it can either be the one piece of advice that you would give youngsters going into the workforce and into relationships, or what's the kindest thing that anyone's ever done for you?
I think I'd have to go with the advice.
And what is the advice?
What I would say to people, and specifically to young girls, is don't say no. There are so many times I've heard women say, I was only offered that because I was a girl. And it might be true, but you say yes and you take it and you don't say no. Because I can tell you, when a guy gets offered a job because he's good at sinking piss at the pub, he doesn't say I only took it because I know I'm at the pub and I've been drinking mates for years. They say yes. And in my career, when I was at Lend-Lease, the organisation was 32% female if you cut it straight through the middle. And the CEO at the time, to his credit, mandated for every event there had to be 32% female representation at all levels in the organisation. I got invited to everything. It was fantastic. And my fellow GMs would say to me, you're only invited because you're a girl. And I'd say, yeah, maybe, but I'm there. I'm networking, I'm hearing the message firsthand, and you're not. And so own it. And a company will not put you in a position where you can destroy it through your inexperience. A company will always set you up to succeed. So it doesn't matter why you get offered something. You say yes, you grab it with both hands and you run as hard as you can.
That is sensational advice, but also I think it might be one of the best quotes ever on 5 of My Life. They only get offered a job because they're good at sinking piss in the pub. That is gold. Sinking piss in the pub. But it's true. I mean, lovely those people are. If you're a fantastic rugby player or sports person, yes, you get given a huge job in finance. You go, mate, yes, he knows fuck all about finance. But guess what? He'll be given the right help and advice, and he'll be fine.
Yes.
No one goes, that's really unfair. They go, well, we run the grand final, so that's why he's there.
Yep, absolutely.
I love it. Okay, last question. So Stuart nominated you, which is why I've got the privilege and honour of chatting to you. Who are you going to nominate that you would like to hear on 5 of My Life next?
I would love to hear from Cam Smith, the Australian golfer that won the British Open. I think the British public probably didn't appreciate an Aussie with a mullet winning the Australian Open, but he's such a laid-back guy. He's got a great style. He's not bothered by his success. He just seems so down to earth, and he's such a talented golfer. So I'd love to hear his story.
Well, we will follow that up. Alison, thank you so much for sharing your stories on 5 My Life.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you follow 5 of My Life, you might enjoy my latest book, Smart, Stupid and 60. In it, I write about a number of the issues discussed on the show. It's the 20-year follow-on from my first book, Fat, 40 and Fired. If you have any feedback on the book or suggestions for the show, please get in touch via my website, nigelmarsh.com.